I'm going to say a sentence that still sounds insane to me even after everything that followed, and you tell me if your brain does that little short circuit too. 3 7-year-olds kidnapped me in broad daylight because they believed I was their father. I woke up in a car trunk with my wrists tied, and a chorus of tiny voices arguing over whether to gag me with a sock or just turn up the music. If it were you, what would you have done? My name is Alexander Reed, and yeah, I'm that guy. People introduce with numbers and titles. CEO, billionaire heir, all the shiny labels that look good in magazines and mean nothing at 2 a.m. when the house is quiet and you can hear your life echo. That afternoon, I was chasing 10 quiet minutes with a bowl of pasta at Yeppe's Italian head down, phone face down for once, trying to breathe after a brutal board meeting. 3 kids rushed my table, eyes wide, voices tripping over each other. "Sir, please," our father collapsed in the alley. "We don't know what to do." And of course I stood up, of course I followed, because what kind of person doesn't? We hit the back door, cut through bright sun into that greenish alley light, and there he was, big guy in uniform, sprawled out like a statue. I went to one knee, 2 fingers to his neck, checking airway pulse, the whole muscle memory from first aid. And as I leaned in, I felt a small hand on my shoulder and a whisper of powder in my face. Cool, chalky, minty. Then the ground slid sideways. Not heroic, not cinematic, just lights out. Next thing I knew, it smelled like rubber and old carpet. I was crammed in a dark space, my shoulders jammed, my mouth tasting like pennies. A voice right above me, calm and clinical, said, "He's waking up." 22 minutes, very precise. The trunk popped and daylight punched me between the eyes. 3 little faces peered down like grad students studying their first alien. A girl in front, hands on hips like she ran the place. One boy with glasses, eyes sharp and curious. The other with a softness in his face that made you want to tell the truth. "You're Alexander Reed," the girl said, chin up. "CEO of Reed Industries. You're our daddy. You abandoned us. Do you think that's fair? To drop a sentence like that on a man tied hand and foot in a stranger's car to charge him with a crime he didn't know he'd committed. Is that justice or just pain with a megaphone?" I said the only honest thing I had, the thing that sounded small and weak even to me. I don't have any children. I never abandoned anyone. "Newsflash," the girl shot back. "We're your children you didn't know about. Our mama is Dr. Vanessa Williams. Does that name ring a bell?" And just like that, 8 years fell out of the ceiling and landed on my chest. Vanessa. If you've ever loved someone so hard, the city changed shape around you, you know that name is more than a memory. It's a map. She was med school, relentless and bright, a laugh that lifted the whole block. I was business school, all edge and ambition, that idiot certainty you have at 20-something that everything will work because you said so. We were a good kind of dangerous together, until a terrible 2 seconds broke us. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Back in the driveway, the kids were already in motion, confident as air traffic controllers. The not actually collapsed man in the uniform, Uncle Mark as it turned out, sat up with this guilty, "I made a choice I can't undo" face. And before I could wrestle with the ethics of yelling at children while tied to a wheelchair, we were rolling toward a small, neat house with a front step that looked like it had held a lot of long days. The door opened, and there she was, wearing Scrubs keys in hand, the years on her face in the most beautiful way, and I swear to you, the whole neighborhood sound dropped out. "Alexander," she said, like she wasn't sure whether to throw her arms around me or throw me off a cliff. "Hello, Vanessa," I said, because my mouth forgot every other word. "Surprise," the girl announced, spreading her arms. "We found Daddy. We kidnapped him for you." "Correction," the boy with glasses said. "We forcibly relocated him for a family meeting." "Yeah, that happened. You know what I mean? We moved inside because the neighbors were pretending not to stare. And if you've ever had a life fall apart on a front lawn, you know you don't give them free tickets. The living room was small and warm, a brown couch with a stain that looked like apple juice, a wall of photos that hit me harder than the sleeping powder. 3 babies, 3 toddlers, 3 little people with a face I recognized from mirrors and old family albums. I sat down because my knees didn't trust the floor. Emma, the leader, planted herself next to me. Daniel leaned into my shoulder like kids do when they already decided you're safe. And David opened a notebook like we were about to draft a treaty. Truth doesn't slide out clean when you've kept it in a box too long. It comes in gulps. We started with the obvious. Did you know about us? No. Did you try to find her? I tried, then she disappeared. Why did you disappear, Vanessa? Because what I saw felt unforgivable. Here's the 2 seconds that broke us. Another woman, my friend, pulled a stunt I didn't see coming. She grabbed my face and kissed me hard, and I took half a heartbeat to unfreeze, to step back, to say no. And in that half heartbeat, the door opened, and Vanessa saw the worst possible frame. She dropped the bag she was carrying. I still remember the sound. And she ran. I chased. I called, emailed, showed up at places I thought she might be. But shame is a heavy coat, and pride is a locked door. She changed her number, moved back to Nigeria, cut the cord clean. Weeks later, she learned she was pregnant. Triplets. And somewhere in that swirl of panic and pride, she decided I would think she was trapping me, so she told no one, built a life, and put me on a shelf marked never. If it were you, what would you have done? The day you realized those 3 kids were yours, and you missed their first laugh, first steps, first lost tooth, all because 2 seconds broke 2 adults and no one put the pieces back. Would you rage? Would you beg? Would you fold in on yourself? I looked at those children. My eyes in Emma's face, my smile on Daniel, my stubborn jaw on David. And I said the only promise I could make without lying. I think I'm your father, and I am so sorry I didn't know. Then Emma, God bless her relentless little soul, said, good, then you can come to Father's Day on Friday. It was Tuesday. That week felt like the world spun faster. I showed up every night after work. We did homework at the kitchen table, burned grilled cheese, watched Daniel explain to me why certain words hurt worse than sticks, watched David calibrate the toaster timers. Like a NASA engineer, watched Emma negotiate for 10 more minutes of bedtime like she was closing an acquisition. And Friday came. Shiny shoes, hair, slicked, a suit they picked because it looked rich. Kids say the quiet part out loud, you know. And we walked into that school with my security team, trailing behind, looking like they wanted to dissolve into the floor. Heads turned. Ruby, the kid who'd called my 3 a word no child deserves to carry, just stared. Emma shook her hand and said, sweet as lemonade, this is my dad, and he's staying. We painted birdhouses and ate cupcakes, and I tried not to cry in a gym full of folding chairs and squeaky sneakers. During the presentations, my 3 stood up together, backs straight, chins high, and Emma said into a too loud microphone, we have the best daddy in the whole world. And if you think a boardroom victory can compete with that feeling, it can't. Not even close. Stick around because what happened next will blow your mind. You might think that's the end of the movie, beat right. Father found children smiling, mother softening cue music. Real life had other plans. The past started fighting back. Vanessa's colleague, Dr. Martin Handsome, in that toothpaste commercial way, suddenly turned cold like someone flipped a switch. My fiancée, Isabella, made her position very clear. I'm not going to be a stepmother to 3 brats, keep them with their mother. I didn't sign up for this. There's a point where a sentence like that stops being an opinion and starts being a revelation, you know. I heard something in my chest say, "These are my children, not a variable to be eased out." Then came the twist. You're not going to believe it, and you're going to believe it completely. A week later, Vanessa and I were on my porch at dusk that hour, where the city hums quietly, and your brain lets the truth climb out. I said very casually, "Have you noticed we're both suddenly single? Dates evaporating, plans derailing, and somehow we keep ending up together with the kids." She looked off like she was reading a sign far away, then looked back at me, and her face did this thing. The thing you do when two puzzle pieces finally click. It was the triplets. We caught them eventually, not because they were sloppy, but because even geniuses leave fingerprints. Emma confessed first, chin up, shoulders set. I took Mama's phone while she was sleeping. I texted Dr. Martin. I told him Daddy was back and we were getting married. Please stop calling. David had a whole tutorial on how to delete sent messages, how to clear notifications, like he moonlights in IT. Daniel shrugged with that benign sweetness that gets you out of traffic tickets and said, "We are very good at systems." Over at my place, they went to war with Isabella. Too much salt in her food coloring in the laundry, a cricket symphony in the closet, all her shoes relocated to the backyard like a modern art project. She lasted 2 weeks. Do you think that's fair? To use chaos for love? Would you punish them for drawing a line around their family with glitter glue and stubborn hearts? Or would you call it what I ended up calling it? Misguided strategy, pure motive. We didn't let it slide. We sat them down at the table, the same table where they'd done math problems and drawn rainbows, and we said the hard things. We do not drug people, we do not steal phones, we do not break other people's things, and we definitely don't decide who is allowed to love us by making their lives miserable. Vanessa did the bravest thing. She apologized not for being their mother, but for letting complicated be a wall instead of a door. I apologized for not chasing harder, for letting time become an alibi. Then we did the grown-up version of what they had done with duct tape and crickets. We fought for the family we wanted out loud and in daylight. It looked like pickup lines at school with my driver learning the names of teachers. It looked like Vanessa laughing in my kitchen at midnight while we burned a second batch of grilled cheese. It looked like Sunday afternoons on my too white couch that stopped being a museum and started being a home. One late night after the kids fell asleep in a pile on the carpet, faces warm and sticky from hot chocolate, I took Vanessa out on the balcony where the city breathes, and I said maybe we should stop pretending we're going to date other people when our 3 tiny campaign managers have veto power. She laughed, the kind of laugh that makes you believe the world is forgiving. I pulled a ring from my pocket, because hope doesn't mean anything if it never turns into a plan, and I told her the truth that had been getting louder in me since the day I woke up in that trunk. I want to be a better man, a present father, a devoted husband. I want us for real, not for show, not for a weekend. She said yes like the word lived in her already and just needed air. Now before you type the comment about how kidnapping is a felony, I know. Before you say they learned the wrong lesson, I hear you. Here's where I land. Sometimes love knocks at the front door with flowers, and sometimes it climbs in through the window because the house is on fire and the front door is blocked by pride. We corrected the method, we kept the motive. This story ends the way most true stories do not, with a perfect bow, but with a life you recognize. A wedding that felt like a home game, Uncle Mark giving a speech titled, "How I Accidentally Participated in a Low-Level Felony," the kids clinking sparkling juice glasses and whispering mission accomplished. I moved furniture in my head. That lonely quiet in my house got replaced by the sound of 3 sets of feet racing down a hall, by Vanessa humming in the bathroom, while brushing her hair, by laughter that makes the walls do that soft vibration only love can do. And still, I think about those 2 seconds in that apartment 8 years ago, about how many lives are determined by a look without context, a door half open, a mouth that didn't have the right words in time. So here's the part where I hand the mic to you, because what we're really talking about isn't glitter in a laundry machine or sleeping powder in an alley. It's whether a parent should ever keep a child from the other parent out of pride or pain when there's no danger, just a wound that never got stitches. Is that protection or is it theft? A theft of time you can't return. Do you think that's fair? If it were you, what would you have done the day you saw something you thought was betrayal? Would you run or would you ask for one more sentence? I'll tell you what I learned, the hard, simple thing. Complicated is just a word we hide behind when we're scared to say what we mean. I'm hurt. I'm angry. I'm afraid you'll break me again. It's easier to file it under complicated and shut the drawer. But then one day, there are kids at your table asking for a father on Friday, and you have to decide what kind of adult you are. The one who protects pride or the one who protects children. I don't know if we got everything right, but we got the big thing right. We chose each other, and we keep choosing each other even on Tuesdays when the pasta is cold and the homework is loud and the dishwasher is beeping at 1 a.m. We built a house where the photos on the wall are still being taken. We tell the truth faster now. And when those three look at me in the morning and say, "Dad, can you?" the answer is yes before they finish the sentence. Now I want to hear you. Was what the kids did unforgivable, or was it desperate love in kid language? Should a misunderstanding be allowed to erase a father for 7 years? Or does forgiveness get a vote too? If it were you right there on that front step with the past tied to a chair and the future in 3 small faces, what would you have done? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Argue with me, teach me, tell me your story. If you've lived even a sliver of this, I'll be down there reading, replying, learning. And if this hit somewhere you didn't expect, do the simple things that make sure stories like this find the people who need them. Like the video, share it with one person who might be carrying a complicated they can't name, and subscribe, because the next true story is already knocking, and I promise, you don't want to miss what happens when we open the door. You know what I mean?